like to welcome everybody to this episode of Working Better Now. I'm Rob Levin, chairman of Work Better Now. And in this series, I get to sit down and have a discussion with a fantastic business leader. Today, I am really happy to be sitting here with Chason Hecht, CEO of Retenza, and I don't know, a 15-year friend, maybe even 20-year friend. So it's great to be sitting down with you, Chason, and welcome.
Thank you. So great to be here. Appreciate it, Ron.
Awesome. Chason, tell us a little bit about Retenza.
Yeah, you've heard of us. Oh, thank goodness. It's working. So 20 years, we have been unlocking the insights that's hidden in the workforce in 56 countries now, 20 languages. We added our 20th language last week. We help organizations to predict who will quit, who will stay, when to hire, sometimes who to fire.
Very cool. And so I've known you for a little while, and you kind of invented the industry, and you're one of the world's leaders in the whole retention space. How did you get there?
Oh, you make me blush. Terrible. How did I get there? So I was in a family business, like many, right? Probably a lot of your audience would have grown up in a family business, right? There is a promulgation of that experiences in business owners, and we grew up actually in a business manufacturing decorative ribbons, the finest decorative ribbons you'd find in holiday wreaths or home decor or floral arrangements, gifts. It was the Bitcoin of its time, the ribbons, the mighty innovation of ribbons. And my parents would say to me more than once, like, well, you're eating dinner because the people on the factory floor, exact words, like dinner, we should thank, Barbara, like literally, right? And Jean, these people who I knew I grew up with, because it was them who bought us dinner tonight, right? I didn't get that at the time, I didn't understand it. But it was like, oh, okay, I see what that means. Then I went to work for a construction company where everybody quit. And then after that was in a global IT firm. And it just occurred to me very quickly that no matter what your product, your service, the one with the best talent wins. That's the way to get there. And that was it. And it was clear that if I could distill that, if I could capture that, if I could replicate that for organizations in some way, because at my family business, nobody quit. And there was also no HR department, hundreds of employees. Can you imagine that, Rob? What a legal nightmare that would have been
today, right?
Today, hundreds of employees, no HR, right? So, and at the time though, it worked because there were no real challenges, issues, problems to put out. And then that clarity, that through line was, ultimately, if I could harness that and possibly, could technology help us do that? It was pretty clear early on that we needed software and to dissect. And well before, phrases like big data, and predictive analytics, we started on this path to predict who will quit an organization. And at this point, I would say by most accounts, we're doing it longer and probably better than anyone out there.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when you and I first met, you didn't have that software. It was all services, and now I actually remember it wasn't easy building the software, and you had the foresight to do that. And is that now your main product or service, and the services side support the software, or tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, you can't do what we do anymore without the software. We were doing it by hand, and it was brutal, right? Yeah. It was a slog. To have to recreate, reinvent, and realign these algorithms, to each culture. And it became very clear that ultimately we needed this tool set to capture the employee lifecycle. That's what you need, We didn't want any blind spots. And so today, you can't do what we do without the software, right? Yeah. It's too hard, it's too expensive. You're just going to get there faster and better. So now the services wrap around that. We're certainly still doing those things that are meaningful to help companies implement, understand, capture, prioritize and actionize those changes, those findings. That's all that wrap around. So we're happy to do that. We have people who really get excited, right, to roll their hands up with. We have companies. Our smallest client is 4 employees. 4 employees, right? But everyone they lose, any person they have is worth $1 million. They're, you know, a hedge fund, Wall Street firm, and then our largest is like 300,000. So all of our staff, you know, like the idea of getting into real world experiences to support what's actually happening. And really, I think we're fortunate in that we in many ways, we've been able to transform the lives of people who work at our clients.
Yeah, makes sense. So you alluded to your team. Tell us a little bit about what your team looks like. How many people are they working in the office?
Well, they look like rock stars, Rob. Retention of rock stars, just slightly fewer fog machines. And they are all over the world. We've got them all over, dozens of people, mostly in the US, headquartered, centered around New York City. That's where, you know, we've started. I have team members, though, in India with many people. We have a development team in India. We have support. And yeah, we went remote like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it was much, it might've been out of ignorance. I think some of the best things I've ever done is because I didn't know any better not to. And then all of a sudden, like, we're remote. We're like, yeah, we're that, sure. Because one of our best people, you know, was relocating, you know, to California. And I was like, oh yeah, but you're awesome. You know,
we can make this work. Yeah.
We'll make it work. Yeah, well, sure. It was like, yeah. It was such a casual conversation.
You didn't think twice. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just like, yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, all right, sure. You know, and then you had to do it 15 years ago without any, right? Oh, doesn't exist, right? You know, back then it was an accomplishment to get her on speed dial.
You can't really see it because of the screensaver.
Oh yeah.
You remember those things?
Right. We all have.
Right now it's a paperweight.
Yeah. So there's you know, and I think it was actually in another conference that you hosted, right, in your previous celebrity life that you had. Some people will be digging through the comments now wondering where did he come from? Yeah, no, he's been famous forever, Rob Levin. But we had those conversations about going global early on because we did, and just getting somebody on speed dial was an accomplishment. Because internally you'd call, you know, 264, you know, and then, well, I have to dial out for what, you know, and so.
If we continue this, we'll be talking about, you know, rotary dial. So moving on a little bit, you know, you have this team. It's you've turned from a services company to almost like a SaaS company.
Full SaaS.
What's your and you know, not only is business changing, but this HR world is changing. Managing people is changing rapidly. What's your role as CEO of Retenza? How do you look at that?
Yeah, well, it really has changed, you know, and as much for the marketplace as it is just the evolution of the company, right? So CEOs just do things differently. But for anyone in your audience who might be at different stages, they may not have 56 countries, 20 languages under their umbrella, you know, and people all over the world. They may be at, you know, 2, 3, 5, you know, 5 staff. Yeah, originally it was like setting the vision and ensuring that we're hiring to that vision. And then when we start getting more people, and once especially you have people that you want and that believe in what you're doing, it's far more obvious when someone doesn't fit. So that early stage is like, it's very much curating the culture. It never goes away. But those early days, it's really like every person really has to contribute and fit in the line. Right. And then it begins to happen by itself because we all preserve this thing that we value and appreciate. And so that once that has happened, I think that more so today at the level that we are, I'm playing 4-dimensional chess, where time is another one of those elements, because I have to look out, you know, 3, 6, 9 months from now, what pieces can I put on the game board, right, for my staff to help them succeed, right? Is that tools? Is it technology? Is it another resource? Do we have to hire? Do we have to get a vendor, a provider? You know, what team or assets to add? And then also, I think in many ways, what do I clear off the board? Like, what can I take out of their way? That's ultimately,
so few people talk about it, but the smartest people do.
Yeah. Well, once again, that's why we're doing this.
Right.
It took you. You finally got to them. So, by the way, made so many mistakes along the way. So that intelligence, well, there's a correlation between, I think, mistakes. I mean, certainly experience. I think it's a Jerry Seinfeld quote. I give him credit for it. You know, experience is that thing you No, his quote is, experience is that sudden rush of pain leaving the body.
Right.
That's his. But the other one is whomever said it, we'll find out, from one of the comments. But the thing you have right after you need it. And certainly I learned a lot of things. By making the mistake over and over. So maybe the last thing I'd say as a CEO, if whatever I learned, whatever I got right, I'm helping to ensure that maybe they don't make those mistakes. So we can sort of, in a sense, smooth out that glide path to growth.
To summarize, it sounds like you're setting your team up for success, for ongoing success. I mean, that's, which is interesting because I didn't hear about you talking about your next iteration of product, because you probably have somebody on the team that's doing that. It's really just about getting the right people there, ensuring they can succeed. Here's
what's one of the coolest things that happens here is when one of our people is doing their job, right, and doing it well, such that they hit a wall. They hit a kind of the velocity of business has gone as fast as it can. And now they're using our technology to do a job, and it's not good enough. And so they say, email, phone call, message, chat. Hey, what if it did this? What if we could, like literally last week, we're doing a global deployment for a giant global manufacturer. We're going to be in dozens of countries rolling out, and we had to make flyers. We had to make physical flyers because this is a physical operation, right? Yeah. I know a lot of your audience is remote. There's a lot of businesses that you have to show up every day, every restaurant, every hotel, every manufacturing plant. And so our team on their own figured out that we could automate something to put the QR codes, because we do a lot of QR code work. We were the first actually in the world to do QR code exit interviews, lots of work around that. In Asia Pacific, we were doing QR codes way before COVID. So we were able to now insert QR codes right on a flyer, deploy that, to our client, and we're making 7,400 flyers for them in a matter of minutes, right? Instead they were going to have to copy, paste in Polish, copy and paste in Mandarin, and we made that go away in an instant. And it's because my team they got together and did it. And that's one of the coolest things that happens is that you got a problem. Well, then they're going to find the person in their company to fix it. So yes, we have a product team, we have innovation, we have R&D, we have people doing that, and they do it on their own. And it's one of the coolest things that I get to witness. Yeah, when stuff is getting done that you don't even know about, you find out after the fact. It's just a really rewarding feeling as a business owner, as a CEO. Yeah, let's change gears a little bit. Let's tap into some of your expertise and share that with our audience. We have all of our clients at least have our assistants, our VAs, who are working out of their homes. What are some of the things that business leaders can do to encourage, improve engagement for those employees working from home or working remotely in general? If they're working from home, I think one of the first things to do is get them out of their home, get them into a place where they're collaborating, communicating with their peers. And it doesn't have to be with you, like as a manager, as a leader, but just get them connecting with others. Because we are still human. We, by and large, all the data indicates we still value human experience, the interactions with others, intelligent, meaningful, sometimes emotional conversations, right? We've been collecting this data for decades. I can still tell you the number one reason why people work at almost every organization is their peers. I've done millions of surveys and millions of exit interviews, millions of responses in 20 years, Rob. It's still the people I work with is the number one reason why I work at most organizations. There's a few exceptions. And so when you think of that universal trait across every industry in every country, then when that gets pulled out from them, they've lost something that's meaningful, that's primal. Really, we're no longer, lone. There are no lone wolves in our species, right? We're pack animals. We want to sit around the campfire and tell stories in some proverbial way. So get them out of their home, get them into and coordinating with others. If you can put yourself in that, then all the better. But you don't let that be a roadblock to that. The other thing I'd say in terms of engaging is to ensure that whoever they're showing up, on this, right, on the magic box here, like making sure that they are who they want to be. This reality that we're facing is that so many people are Zoom faking it, and it's exhausting. And if they're not who they want to be and who they are, then when they hit, end call, then there's a relief and there's an exhaustion, and that emotional toil and roller coaster really accelerates burnout.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, no, look, it's you're feeling it, you're hearing it, you know what I'm saying, right? You're seeing and maybe recognizing that. So.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned those two things, because I think we realized those things early on, as we were figuring out our business and helping our clients be successful with the talent that we're providing for them. So it's not, some of our clients do occasionally have a VA fly into the States and they meet in person. Of course, that's not always possible. One of the things we've done is we'll get VAs together if, let's say, they're in a major city, in some country in South or Central America or in the Caribbean, right. And we get them together in person. We hope, we obviously we support that. We put it together, and it's amazing what happens when they get together. I mean, we just get these pictures and we get these messages and stuff like that. And then, of course, the clients that are really getting the most out of our VAs are the ones that are they're embracing them, making them part of their team, whether they're in the office or not. Yeah. And then I'll throw on the fact that we're doing, online yoga classes and stuff like that. So we're, to the extent possible of getting people together, we're doing that. So it's funny you mentioned that, because we learned that, we figured that out about a year ago or so. And then, being your authentic self, one of the things that we've learned literally over the past few months is that we got to make sure that it's not so much a personality fit, but that connection is there where, I think historically I've seen a lot of people who work in South America, Central America, Caribbean. I've seen them kind of say, look, I'll take the job I can get, and I'll be that person that they want them to be. Right. And we realized a lot over the past 6 months. We got to find out who they are and match them up with the right person. Otherwise, it's not going to last, or they're not going to be happy, and that's not good for anybody.
No, it shows up. It shows up in some form. That's right. Manifests in some way, and while your team, right, your VAs are working directly, with individuals, on a regular, constant basis,
clients,
and your clients, you're still, you could still find people hiding. You could still find the phenomena we see today, quiet quitting, of course, which is, on the news and late night talk shows, because it's as relevant and permeating through, the fabric of society as much as ever. And so they can hide because they don't want to do this anymore. Whatever this is, whoever they need to be to do that is too sometimes draining and exhausting. This is a complex phenomena that we've seen really emerge even more significantly post-pandemic.
So you mentioned quiet quitting. Let's quickly talk about that. Number one, is it real, and how do you combat that, particularly in a remote environment?
Yeah, is it real? So it is a new version of what was called in the 1990s, as this began to be investigated, presenteeism, a form of absenteeism, which was studied quite a bit in the 80s, and turnover. And then we started studying presenteeism, which is that I show up every day, but I'm not doing the job. That's evolved into what we now see today as quiet quitting. It's very real. It may be affecting as much as 20 or 30% of the workforce. This is millions of people. Yeah. And most organizations, of any considerable size, by the time you're at the 40 or 50 employees, it's hard for you, the CEO, the business owner, to know everyone, to know what they're doing. Certainly in a remote world, it's impossible. And so they can't hide. So it's very real. The problem is that it is a result, and in a sense, it's a symptom of what's been this latent problem in employment, really, for the better part of the century. We're all living in a sort of a vestigial tale of the Ford assembly line. Like, that's who figured out how to create business, and it worked. And so we were able to model that to individuals who are highly complex and emotional and creative. But I just want you to put the thumbtack, on the tail, on the Eeyore, and that's it, right? And some variation of that as we've gotten out of manufacturing, but ultimately we're sort of doing the same thing. This is not what humans are built to do, and that's very hard. And then what happens is it's very good at creating an organization that produces profit, but it's equally as good as producing an organization that produces discontent, distrust, disease, actually manifesting physically. Physical ailments manifest when I'm stressed, from my experience. So very real, very happening. And I think people are backing out of this modern American phenomenon in many ways, of hustle culture. And I appreciate that, and you can, and certainly maybe your audience of CEOs, business owners, business starters, that we're hustlers, right? In varying degrees, we have a velocity and a momentum that the rest of the planet or our team doesn't have. But the expectation that everyone's got to be in the hustle, right, is exhausting for many. It's certainly at odds with European, mindset, although there's some phenomena happening there. And so what's happening now is that people are frustrated with hitting a wall, not getting support, guidance, or the direction of their career that they want. Maybe they're not even doing the job that they like, or even the people that they know enough to like them. I'm not even getting that. So very real. It's very serious, and it's not going to go away on Thursday.
So what's like a couple of quick tips? We actually probably covered some, which is first, ensure there's a good fit, right?
Yeah.
What are some other things that companies could be doing to prevent this, that business leaders can be doing to prevent it?
Right. So I think the most powerful tool is the question. It's relatively cheap and easy to just start asking and leaning into. Why did you join? Why have you stayed? Why would you leave? This trifecta, which is the world's simplest stay interview, it's something I teach all over the world, and in many conferences or keynotes that I do, but here, let your audience have it. But just those 3 questions can open up a pretty significant conversation with my direct report. And ultimately, what you're looking for is, is there something you need that you're not getting here? Because if I can provide what you need to my team, to my support staff, my directors, my managers, if they're getting what they need from this organization, then why would they leave?
Right.
Why wouldn't they do their best? Because it's a feedback loop for them. They just get more of what they want. Right. They just get more of it every time they give more. So looking for the antenna to be up for, you're listening as you're asking those 3 questions. What do you need? Can I give you something that you want that's important to you? Do I have access to that? And maybe it's simple. Maybe it's a computer upgrade, a monitor, flexible work arrangements, parent care, child care, adjustments in work schedule or benefits, or a new task, job, or personal professional development, like whatever that is. There's a lot of buckets that can, but just listen for what that is. And now it's hard to bail out. It's hard to go lazy and bored when I'm getting what I want.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Second to last question, and I guess it's kind of related, which is, how can leaders improve the company culture overall? What's the top 1 or 2 things that they should be doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome that we're finally at a point where leaders can articulate the culture they want, right? It's beyond just 5 words on a wall. Right. I mean, for as long as
with the picture and right of the mountain peak and right, as if that's it, right? So that's good that we know what it is. I think that sort of one of the areas in which a leader can recognize where they can improve and sort of access that culture is to verify that is in fact what everyone else is experiencing. So now you know what it is. Now you can describe it, and maybe you even have illustrations of it, examples of it, right? Because you got a team who points it out every week on the staff call or at your town halls, every quarterly meeting, how they're representing the culture, right? But is that an isolated incident? Is that an exception, or is that the rule? And so making sure that
that we know that people actually are aligned with what we're trying to do here. Again, through, tactics, tools, surveys, feedback, peer review, even 360s, 180s, upwards evaluations, all those mechanisms to help to align to, are we headed in the right direction? Just so the leader could just verify that the culture that we've defined is something everyone else recognizes us to be.
Right.
And let me just underscore that, because it's easily overlooked, which is, I say what our culture is, and my managers say what our culture is, but everyone there on the, on the ice cream shop floor thinks it's a joke. Think that's hysterical, because that's not actually how it is. Or in the IT, department in engineering. Right. So just that gap alone will open up areas of access. And the other thing is, in terms of executing that and making sure that it's working for the organization, is to reward and recognize to it as sort of woven into the conversation. And it's not a special thing. It's not a side thing. It doesn't happen once a year, but that you're recognizing and rewarding
regularly.
Difference, right? Two different things. Reward is, putting the euros on the line. Right?
I love the idea of separating the recognition from the reward.
Yes, yeah. So huge. This is live. People can this is real. People think this is all rehearsed. Like, here it is. We got phones ringing. We got reminders going.
That's life. That's how life works.
There it is.
Chason, what do you like to do when you're not working?
Other than hang out with you.
Besides that,
everyone should do that. It's better than baseball. So I'm in, with my family, typically, like if I can get them on a ski slope or in a hike, that's where I can use very different parts of my brain and my body to, counterbalance sort of what it takes to do this business. So I'm going to be outdoors whenever I can. Fortunate that I have places I can go that are surrounded by apple and peach orchards.
Your cabin in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable to unwind and unplug. It's a place where tranquility and serenity and clarity can emerge. If not for just minutes.
Sounds like I need to go soon.
Yeah, just put a wrap on this. We'll beat the traffic.
Right.
Chason,
how can people find out more about you and Retenza?
Yeah, look, Retenza.com. We, of course, are on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. You'll be able to here's what we've done and realized it maybe a few years ago. Some days we do it better than others. We are giving it away. We're giving it away. Like, take all our knowledge, take all the experience. You're still going to need someone to figure this out. So I'm okay. I'm telling everybody the secret sauce. We've published our models. It's being taught at universities. It's being, shown at some of the largest organizations in the world are using take it. Retenza.com, LinkedIn, follow us, like, share, you can have it. And then when you're confronted by the reality of rolling that into 50, 500 or 5,000 employees, give me a call. Yeah.
That was better than Crazy Eddie, by the way. Chason, I want to thank you on behalf of the Work Better Now community. I want to thank you for spending a few minutes with us. That was awesome. And I guess that's a wrap. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ron.